And welcome on back, everyone, from a almost 2 week hiatus from Streaming with the Mouse. Today we're going to be talking about the last two episodes of Kenobi, possibly last two episodes ever. There's speculation about what's coming next, but get ready, and you're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. And welcome on back, everyone, to episode 130 of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my co-pilot, the Qui-Gon Jinn to my Obi-Wan Kenobi, I guess I can use today, with what we're talking about. Cam, how are you doing?
Cliff, it's been a long time since we got to talk about this stuff on the podcast. Hand up, coach, that's on me. Been a very, very, very busy 2 weeks. June is my busy period at work with orientation. Between that, I was organizing a fundraiser too that just took place this past Friday in my hometown. So I was helping to organize that. So it's been a very, very, very busy 2 weeks. I was not able to watch some of these episodes the day they released, and that makes me sad. But you know what? We got to do it. Only minor spoilers that I got, so it wasn't the end of the world. Really excited to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi in this episode, and then in a couple days from now, you'll probably also get to hear our Miss Marvel discussion on episodes 2 and 3 of Miss Marvel, which absolutely loved Obi-Wan, absolutely loving Miss Marvel, so super excited to talk about both. Obviously, Obi-Wan today in this episode specifically.
Yes, very excited to talk about it. So because it's been 2 weeks and 2 episodes, we're not only going to do top 5, because they do flow together. It was kind of like
it's a nice
one
part
to
1,
the
part 2.
other.
Yeah.
And we will have honorable mentions. I don't know how many you have. I think I'm going to see it when we get to 1. I'll be like, okay, what do I have left that I really want to talk about? But news, not much news. All I know, something that I have seen is, as everyone knows, we're from Massachusetts. Disney Plus will be filming a Disney Plus Halloween movie in and around the Boston area starting in August into September. No clue what it is because what's it called? The next what's the witches movie?
Hocus Pocus 2?
The next Hocus Pocus movie is going to be filmed in Providence with some Massachusetts filming, but this is supposedly like a full thing right around the Canton, Mansfield area.
So I actually heard a rumor that when I went to Wendy's like 3 months ago or something like that, the place that is right next to the Wendy's in Stoughton, Mass, where I'm from, and literally Cliff might as well be from, or living near, they were filming something for Hocus Pocus supposedly there, because they like shut it all down for film crews, so that'd be pretty cool if it's just by the Wendy's in Stoughton, which would be funny.
Yeah, so that starts filming in August into September, which is pretty cool. But other than that, no big news. Casting news for Percy Jackson. Don't need to talk about that until there's more stuff about it. But other than that, Cam, I'll let you start with your number 5.
All right, my number 5. I'm going to be honest with you. Most of these coming from part 6, excuse me.
Yeah,
it's confusing to say episode 6. But my number 5 was, I'm a little shocked this was at 5, but mine was the return of Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson. Super excited. I think I've talked about this on the pod. I watched Star Wars for the first time in the most random order possible, where I watched episode 6 and then I watched episode 1. I don't know how that happened, but you know what? It did. And my favorite lightsaber color, I think I've also said on this podcast, is green, because at the time, my favorite characters had green lightsabers. Luke Skywalker and Qui-Gon Jinn. So the fact that we have in 2022, not just Obi-Wan Kenobi, not just Darth Vader, not just Palpatine, I'm going to throw that out there, but also Qui-Gon Jinn. Obviously, from the first episode 1, we knew this was going to happen, right? There's no way Obi-Wan's going to try to communicate with Qui-Gon through the Force this entire time. It's just not going to happen. Like, it had to have happened. So it was really cool to see live action Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, even if it's for a little bit. Have that moment for Obi-Wan where he's fully connected to the Force again, which we saw in the fight scene with Vader in part 6. Just that full circle kind of thing was really, really special to see. Like I said, even if it was 5 seconds, it was awesome. And that line of "I was always here" kind of thing just really melted my heart. Like, his master was always with him, even when he couldn't tap into that side of the Force to actually be with him in his Force spirit. It was really cool.
It's Neeson, not Nielsen.
Well, I said Nielsen? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
I was like, wait.
No, that's my hand up. It's been a week. Sorry.
It's been a week. Yeah, I'm gonna use Qui-Gon as one of my honorable mentions, but I'll talk about that later.
Sure.
But it was beautiful. It was fun seeing him again, and I liked how when he was interviewed, he said that this was George's vision of him as Qui-Gon, so he wasn't gonna let that be tainted by someone else. So I'm happy they did that. My number 5 is gonna be Reva, however you say it. Reva, and I was never against her, like Twitter was.
Yeah.
And someone brought up a really good point. They got there with the wrong way to get there, but they made their correct endpoint. Where the tweet was people that hate The Last Jedi and hated Reva's arc in Kenobi just proved they wanted to be spoon-fed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's truly, I complained about that. Like I said, everyone knows my opinions on The Last Jedi, but the end point was correct, where everyone wants all the answers right away. That is not storytelling. If you just want to go see a million, what are they called? Like quick little shots. I don't get why I'm forgetting this. No, not that.
Didn't know where you're going.
Like the Fantastic Four in Multiverse of Madness. I'm completely
cameos.
If you want to see a million cameos, no story, and just have complete fan service for the whole time, I don't know what to tell you. Go make your own crappy 2-hour movies. That's on you. It's a story. It's this beautiful thing that goes across, that spans, and people just couldn't wait. There are other reasons why people couldn't wait. We're not going to get into those on the podcast, but there's no room for racism in Star Wars or anywhere. But
definitely
she had
not
this,
anywhere.
not anywhere. But she has this story where the ending was a little weird. Going after Luke was weird. But it made her arc left me wanting more. And it was this arc that people always talked about would be so cool. What happens if a youngling that saw Anakin slaughter all of their friends tried to get revenge?
Right.
People have talked about this for a long time, and we finally got it, and it did turn a lot of people. A lot of people were like, okay, you know what? Now I want to see what comes next for her, and I think there will be something in the future. But it was this great arc. A lot of us called it from the beginning that girl in the opening Order 66 was her.
Yeah.
And I think what made it even better is that she failed. Vader knew the whole time who she was. And I just think, like, the battle, that was so cool. Because it showed Vader in this incredible light. But it also showed so much about Reva. Mm-hmm. So it had this one weird going after Luke, but I liked the whole fact that when Obi-Wan did redeem her, it was pretty much like, now it's your choice. You've been driven by hate, you've been driven by what the Jedi had you do as a child, and now it is your choice to be your person. You get to decide your future. Right. And that to me was just great.
Yeah, and I do I want to skip ahead? No, I don't. I'm not gonna skip ahead. I have a lot to say about Reva and that Vader fight scene. But yeah, Reva was awesome. I am still confused, I guess, with the whole going after Luke, like you said, because I think she was able to put two and two together. That's my
opinion. She put two and two together about that Luke and Leia are who they are.
But like, I don't know, that it still missed me a little bit, because it's not like, okay, if she kills Luke, like, Vader doesn't know about Luke, so it's not gonna affect him. Like,
exactly,
bring Obi-Wan in so she can get closer. It was weird, but like everything else I love about her storyline kind of thing. I get the whole aspect of when Obi-Wan was the trap to get Vader, not the other way around kind of thing. Exactly. She wanted, like, I love that whole part of her storyline. But keep going too. My number 4 is Umperu and Uncle Owen absolutely packing heat. Umperu just being a total G and just being like, oh, see the cinder block here? Yep. Nope. See, there's a whole lot of blasters in there kind of thing. I'm not the first person to say this. I will not be the last person to say this. I want to see how many Stormtrooper bodies were hidden in that, or not hidden, but like just dead, 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 in their homestead, the Lars family homestead during episode 4, because there's no way that they just killed Beru and Owen. Like, those two people definitely took down some Stormtroopers in that battle, because they were going after a Force user here and held up pretty well. Albeit it was a like very beaten down Force user. But it was awesome. They were so cool to see. Peru, total G, really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool. This was my number 4 as well, so it blends well in. It explains a lot. That's the thing. Anyone that was complaining, I didn't actually see a lot of people being like, it breaks canon, it breaks canon. I didn't see anyone actually complaining about that. I just saw people complaining about people complaining about it breaking canon. It explains so much about episode 4. It explains why they literally got burned to death. Because they definitely put up a fight, and they definitely took out a decent amount of stormtroopers. I like how they held their own against Reva because she was injured. She also wasn't exactly knowing what she was doing at that point. She was just going for the sun. She was just going for Luke. On Peru, those memes have been great.
Awesome. They're hilarious.
So yeah, that to me, does it redeem Owen? I don't know. I think Owen loved Luke as much as Owen could love Luke. I think he did see him as his own, but maybe not his own son, but he saw him as one of his family. But I think that he could have been better, but that's also probably how he was raised on Tatooine also, and that's why Luke was always a farm boy. He was always working because that's just how Owen was raised, and that's the only way he knew how to raise a child himself.
Yeah, for sure. My number 3, and here we go. Here's a part 5 moment. Was that Reva Vader fight? Whatever you want to call it, was sick. People love to crap on Disney and like their use of Star Wars in this, but I will say the top 4 of the top 5 lightsaber moments, in my opinion, in Star Wars history, took place during the Disney era of Star Wars. It was Vader in Rogue One, Luke and Mando, season 2. Something I'm about to talk about as my number 2 moment, and then this right here. Again, it was so cunning. Vader's like, Reva, third sister, I had you the whole time. Like, relax there, sit down. I knew it was you. Do you really think I didn't think that was? I knew that this was going to happen one day. And just the use of the one, I guess, 2 lightsaber against just the straight up Force. Literally just, for the video watchers, just like the quick little blocks of like the lightsaber without ever touching the lightsaber that Reva was attacking Vader with, using the Force and just showing how dominant that man is, really encapsulates how powerful Obi-Wan is when we see him later in part 6, because he's able to hold his own around Vader, where this is just boom, 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 like, Reva, you are a weak little child. The same one I saw in the temple that I knew this whole time was going to come around and try to get their comeuppance, and now here you are, stabby, stab, stab. It was just awesome. I love the whole thing, how hard it was, like the double lightsaber breaking, and like Vader being like, listen, take one of them, like, I'm not even going to try to kill, I want to toy with you, you're my little plaything right now, and I'm going to dominate this encounter. It was just awesome. So everything with that, with Vader, and how powerful Reva still was, trying to go attack arguably the most powerful Force user ever, the Chosen One, for God's sake, was just really, really cool. It was just made for an epic showdown between these 2 characters.
Yes, and I think the one thing, my major complaint is that we never saw, I'm actually happy we didn't see it, is actually seeing the Inquisitors fly away with the hilt. I'm glad we didn't see it, honestly.
I wish
we found out that the double-bladed Inquisitor lightsaber also splits into 2 lightsabers. And Vader was so appalled and disgusted by the third sister, he literally was like, I'm going to use part of your lightsaber instead of my own. You're not even worthy of my own lightsaber.
Yeah.
Such a cool scene. My number 3, it probably should be higher. It probably should be number 2, but I'm going to steal your thunder for what your number 2 is. And it perfectly encapsulates Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it is the storytelling of part 5, where you see Attack of the Clones Anakin and Obi-Wan dueling it out, proving that Anakin / Vader has never learned the lesson of you do not need to be victorious in battle to win the fight, to win the war. And I'm happy they didn't DH him. I'm happy they didn't, because it was almost like, look, there's multiple ways you can think about it. it's Obi-Wan and Anakin thinking about this throughout the show. I think that the way I took it, at least personally, is that they were both kind of reminiscing, or at least one of them was reminiscing from this.
See, and I took it as that was Anakin's memory. That was not Obi-Wan's memory.
And he still failed. And just, they did so, like, the fighting was incredible. We got to see a lot of Revenge of the Sith fighting, and it showed you that even though Obi-Wan was the weaker fighter, he knew how to beat Anakin. And that's what it was. That's what it was during the Clone Wars. You had Anakin, who was the wartime general, who was revered, who was feared, and knew how to win by brute strength and partial cunning. But then you had Obi-Wan, who in the first episode of, well, technically the movie of the Clone Wars TV show, he literally knew his opponent well enough to continuously stall until Anakin would will himself to a victory. And that was why they worked so well together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Ahsoka's so great, because she has the incredible skills of both Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
She does learn the patience and the trickiness of Obi-Wan, but she also learns the stubborn and steadfastness of Anakin. And throughout the whole thing, and it was at the end where Obi-Wan was like, "This is why you will always be a Padawan." It also goes perfectly into the lines in episode 4, which will also be another reason of my number 1. But Anakin did not always learn, because he let certain things overpower him.
Yeah.
And it was just seeing them again. Also, if you didn't realize, Anakin is looking at where Padme's apartment is on Coruscant. I honestly, just personally, my headcanon is this is literally 20 minutes before they're called to start Attack of the Clones. Like, this is like right before they find out Padme is going to be protected by them. That's how I look at it.
My headcanon is this never happened.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Somebody brought up a great point. There's zero traffic in the air in Coruscant, so it's not a memory. And this is maybe why they didn't de-age Hayden. Is if things had gone right, this is what would have happened. I would have still been a Padawan under Obi-Wan. I would have still been a little bit older potentially, because I started later than most Jedi would have when they were taken. I mean, you see it in this, like, they're taken so young, where Obi-Wan doesn't even remember. He's like, I think I had a brother. Like, I remember a baby a little bit. So I took it as, like, a perfect thing where it's maybe a combination of, like, what Anakin imagines for himself and Obi-Wan's relationship a little bit, with that message of, this is what I would have learned from this is what I learned from Obi-Wan, and this is how I think he would have applied it to this situation. So that's my take on it. And I don't think I was alone in that. I did see a couple people mention that, and I've been getting that into, like, my own headcanon, basically, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's also a good way to look at it. Or I just loved seeing Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Sure, sure.
Even though it's the worst of the new trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, it's still great.
This moment, surprisingly, was not in my top 5.
Oh my god!
It was a honorable mention, because I do have some other things I want to talk about.
What is your number 2?
So my number 2 is the battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. I'm gonna say it. This is now my favorite lightsaber duel of all time.
How is this not number 1?
We'll get to it.
Oh. Okay.
This was my ultimate favorite thing in the world, because it wasn't just the lightsaber battle. It was the rocks. This is the rematch we all wanted. I loved. Oh my god! There's so many good lightsaber moments in this. I loved how overpowered Obi-Wan was to Vader. What was that? Part 3, I think it was. Yeah, part 3 because of how non-connected Obi-Wan was to the Force at that time. But now that he's got that strength back and he's connected with the Force, and Vader even says that, they could actually have the battle we've always wanted. It's not just that. And for people that are just listening, it's not just the bang, bang, bang. It's in episode 4. It's really hard-nosed. There's this one part, it's awesome, when they're back-to-back, which I love that image, because, like, I think of Anakin and Obi-Wan potentially, like, being back-to-back in a battle together, but this time they're back-to-back instead of protecting each other back. They're trying to fight each other off. I love that. The thing with the rocks of, like, Vader just basically burying Obi-Wan in the rocks, and then Obi-Wan just keeps flinging them at him, like, basically the hands up, like, I got the high ground now, and it's just boom, 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 boom with the rocks. was just so cool. I'll hold off on my number one, I guess, because it relates to this a little bit, but I'll hold off on it. But
my number one
awesome.
is going to be what your number. Mine's all together. What that is. So my number two is how this goes into episode 4. How this goes into the original trilogy of Obi-Wan. For so long, he lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan lost his brother. He lost his brotherhood, the Jedi Order, everything, and all that remained after, and in his mind was Luke Skywalker. That was the only thing. He needed to protect this boy. He sat in a cave and watched over this child for 10 years. And Leia and this mission helped him realize that there was more than just what it is. That what's going to happen is the will of the Force. And that happens at the end of this. And it also, you can then tell what goes into afterwards, where he finally is like, I am leaving. He tells Owen, I'm leaving, and then Owen lets him meet Luke for the first time, which is also heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. Like, he never met this man before in his life, this child before in his life. I'm glad he got the toy, but finally Obi-Wan for so long only focused on the negative, shut himself off from the Force, and finally at the end realized, as he finally could kind of let go of Anakin, because Anakin is officially dead. But I want to talk about that also. I'm going to talk about that in my number one point. He finally was able to accept the Force and accept the will of the Force, as what Yoda does. Yoda understands that, sadly, this is the way the Force works. The Force is going to determine what the outcome is, no matter how much you try to change it.
Right.
And that's what Palpatine always tried to do. He always just enough tried to finagle with the Force, just enough without it getting him back. And finally it did. It got him back. That's what happens at the end. Palpatine always finds the end because the Force willed it to. And Obi-Wan leaving and becoming this protector is so much, it finally plays into it, and it explains so much in A New Hope why he's so worried about Leia. It's very lucky that it just kind of worked that way, where Alex McGinnis was just such a good actor, where he added these, like, oh my god, moments that could be perceived as, okay, you can backtrack to why he's like that. And that's it's just great and beautiful, why he knew who R2 was without knowing. I rewatched it, A New Hope, the other day, and it was like, this makes so much sense now. But it really played into it, and it was, he had to let go of Anakin. And it wasn't, and Obi-Wan wasn't to blame, in my personal opinion. He could have done more to help Anakin not fall, but there were many other factors outside of Obi-Wan that were the primary reasons for the fall of Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
So now we get it. We get your number one. Unless you want me to talk, is your number one the conversation?
It's just the quote. My number one, I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. Beautiful. Just everything about it. The mask, Vader's helmet being partly cut off, like we saw in Rebels, which is awesome, because besides Padme, the two most important people in Anakin's life is Ahsoka and it's Obi-Wan, and both his master and his apprentice got to see Anakin one last time with that helmet being partly cut off, and the way that the lighting between Obi-Wan and Vader's lightsabers, when he says that, like, I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan, and it's that blue, and then you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, and it switches to the red of Vader, and even the voice changes, because you can hear half and half. It's Hayden's voice as Anakin, but also Vader's, and it started a little bit like that, where you could hear it was Hayden, and then when it's the I killed him, it switches within that line from Hayden's, like, actual voice to the Vader, and that's contributed to, it keeps going back and forth a little bit, but then it's, like, kind of permanent, like, that's Vader's voice. And it was chef's kiss, beautiful. Deborah Chow, you are unbelievable. This is the moment that I've always imagined. And the fact that we actually got it, and it was actually Hayden in the costume, and it wasn't animated, even though everybody knows I love animated, I love Rebels, but to have that was so special, between these two characters who I absolutely love and adore. I love the prequel trilogy, so to get this moment was just awesome. It was so cool. But so everything about that, the fight was awesome. Obviously, that was my number 2. But that specifically was great. And then when Obi-Wan finally makes the switch, like, then you're gone. I'll see you later, Vader, or whatever he says. Like, he actually doesn't use the name Anakin anymore because he kept using it over and over again once he found out that Darth Vader is Anakin. And that's when he's like, nope, you're right. You are. And that's why he never lied to Luke. Vader killed your father because he's officially gone. And Vader told him himself that I killed Anakin Skywalker. It was awesome.
Yeah, so my number 1 is the fight into the conversation afterwards. I have always been someone in Star Wars that it's been very hard for me to see Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader. The series did a very good job showing me this. I was finally kind of able to like see it. I was able to see Anakin in the suit, which I'm very happy for, because it is Anakin and Vader are the same person. The whole thing is Vader takes away the passion and the love that Anakin had, but that he still puts the passion into other ways of hate. It was an incredible fight. It's exactly what was needed. It doesn't break canon. It actually helps it, because after this, it's really the time where Vader really tries to kill Anakin Skywalker. It's an incredible quote. My question for you is, do you think we've seen Anakin Skywalker as Vader in the suit? Like, do you think Anakin quickly flips just enough? Yep. What are your points? Where do we see Anakin Skywalker? You only need to give one if you really need to.
Right there, the biggest one right there is like, I'm not your failure. Using the word I, because that switch happens, right? Like, Vader's here, Anakin's no longer. Anakin slips out a little bit there, where I think it's him saying, like, hey, Obi-Wan, this is Anakin. You didn't do this. This isn't your fault. And then it switches to like that kind of Mr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde kind of thing, like, I killed him kind of thing. Kind of like the Moon Knight kind of thing. So I think that there's a couple moments, but that's like the bingo. That was Anakin right there. And you can tell by the light, like I said, the voice, like, it was literally him saying it, like, Obi-Wan, that we're good. I just got overtaken by this. It's had nothing to do with you.
Yes, and I think there are several times. I think the time is when we see Anakin with the blue lightsaber. Mm-hmm. When we see the blue light, that's when Anakin is there. The other times, I think we've only seen it 3 times in total. The first time we see it is when Vader personally goes to the crash site of Ahsoka's Venator. And when Anakin picks up Ahsoka's lightsaber, he does.
I thought you just meant in this series.
Oh, okay, no, in general, in all of Star Wars. So I think we see it when he finds Ahsoka's lightsaber, because the way he handles it with care, and it's a very Anakin Skywalker moment. And then the other time is right when Ahsoka blows off the mask, and you hear him say Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. He's talking to her. He's trying to. I don't know if he's luring her. I think he's always trying to goad them into killing him. I think that's Anakin tries to get them to come back and finish him. Because I don't think Anakin believed, if there was an Anakin deep down in there. Well, there was, because Luke brings him back. I don't think he ever thought he was redeemable. Right. That's why he always let Vader win, because he never thought he could be saved, and Luke shows him that. And that's when we actually see Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi. But that's my number 1 is the final battle before Obi-Wan lets Vader win in Episode 4. But I am very happy with how this series turned out. Yeah. There were, and I think the quote from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the best one. Oh, it was very exciting. It got a little dodgy in the middle there, but it really landed on its feet. That's the best way to explain it. Where there was some dodginess where you're like, okay, where are we going with this in the middle? And it really stuck the landing. It stuck the landing as well as anyone could have hoped for, if we're being 100% honest. This
is probably the best Disney Plus Star Wars show that you could watch, from beginning to end in one sitting. Like, I still think Mandalorian takes the cake for me, especially season 2.
I agree with that.
This is one continuous story where, like, parts of Mandalorian is like, who's the big bad or what's the issue of the week, and it gets resolved. And it's one story, but it's also individual stories at certain points where everything is one story. So this is, I think personally, the first Star Wars Disney Plus project that you could sit down and watch all 6 episodes in a row, and it's one true continuous story where, like I said, Mando Season 1, Mando Season 2, and Book of Boba Fett are all one story. You could sit through and watch them all, but it has its different story beats. Like you have, I don't know, the spider episode in Season 2, I'm thinking of, like, how much did that contribute to the main part of the story? Not much. Like, the big meat and potatoes chunk of that story was probably the last 3 episodes of Season 2 of Mandalorian, this is everything you could sit and watch, and that's one giant movie that you could watch in one go.
Exactly, and I agree. I had hope for Kenobi to become better than Mandalorian. The middle kind of took that chance away. I agree. I mean, obviously, start to finish, it's one of the better start to finish products Disney has put out so far. But yeah, Mandalorian still does it for me. But like for what this is, I hope we get a second limited series where we show Obi-Wan learning the depths of the Force.
That'd be cool. Nice. Just to explore that,
and seeing him as the protector of Tatooine, which would be really cool as well. But that's it. I've finished. Very quick honorable mentions. Yeah, so do I. Mine is seeing Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn again.
There you go.
Very nicely. It was just enough. To see.
My very quick one, I promise I'm going to make this as quick as possible, is there's no canon broken. Oh, but Obi-Wan and Leia knew each other. He said, this is a good way to do it. We might see each other again, but people can't know we know each other, which is probably why Leia was so formal, like, General Kenobi, you served with my father in the Clone Wars kind of thing. Because if R2 falls into the wrong hands, you can't let people know that there's a connection between them two besides that. Formality-wise, Luke never saw Reva's lightsaber. All he knew from Beru and Owen was that it was Tusken Raiders, and he was out so far ahead of Reva that he never saw the red lightsaber blade, so it makes sense when he's like, what's this? When he picks up his dad's and his blue lightsaber, that he's never really seen one before. He was knocked unconscious by the time he like came to kind of thing, and it was just Reva. For all he knew, Reva saves him from the Tusken Raiders. So that was never broken. My last, so those are my, like, canon was never broken, so STFU everybody, like, everything's fine. And then my last one is the meeting of Ben and Luke and the hello there. We finally got the hello there, but Owen is fine enough to, like, okay, like, do you at least want to meet him? Like, you've been doing this for 10 years now at this point, looking over this boy, and you've actually never met him, because I wouldn't let you, but here's my trust in you, and thank you for helping him and saving his sister too. I don't know if he knows that part at least, but that was great.
I agree. Those are, like, non-canon breaking is incredible. But the time has come to say goodbye to Kenobi for at least the time being.
Goodbye there.
Goodbye there. Yes, exactly. So Cam, where can they find you and the podcast?
You can find me on Twitter. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CamRamos95. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Stream the Mouse. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Streaming with the Mouse. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Just search for Streaming with the Mouse podcast, Disney Plus. You'll be able to find us there. Please be sure to like, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, all the above to those different platforms so we can get more listeners to the podcast. I promise, again, I apologize that this was such a long overdue episode. That's completely on me. Like I said, it's been super busy, but hopefully now we'll get back on track now, especially with Ms. Marvel and with whatever else we're going to be watching on Disney Plus on Streaming with the Mouse. So definitely be sure to stick around here. We definitely want to bring in some more special guests that we have, some friends, for different Star Wars and Marvel episodes, and we hope to do that soon too. But Cliff, where can they find you?
You can find me at CP Robinson81. So yeah, if you're watching this on the launch date of June 27th, you'll be able to watch Miss Marvel episode 2 and 3 on Wednesday, the day that episode 4 will drop. So you can watch our opinion on that, and then hopefully this Friday you'll have the episode 5 thought process. So for Cam Ramos, my name is Clifton Paul Robinson. We're signing off, and we will see you on Wednesday. Bye, guys.